Hey everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day so far and thanks for tuning in into this video. In this video, we're going to be going over the Estimates module, which is a critical tool for planning project costs, creating proposals, and managing bids. In case you don't know, an estimate is a preliminary calculation of what a project will cost, which is created and given early to the clients or your team to create an idea of the financial requirements. Contractor Foreman allows you to use the estimate tool as a proposal, as a bill of quantities, and a financial checkpoint tied to your budget. This versatility ensures that both field and office staff can work seamlessly and help maintain accurate project financials. So let's get started. Let's head over to our menu at the very top and navigate to Estimates under Financials. Once here, you'll see that the Estimates dashboard is very similar to the other dashboard of the different modules we use in Contractor Foreman. As you scroll down, you can see a list of all the different estimates that you have so far, as well as their corresponding details on the right. If you're looking for a specific estimate, you can look for it using the Search for Estimates button on the top left. You can also use the filter button and filter by projects, customer status, or a number of other fields if needed. If you'd like to view a card view or a Kanban style, you can also click on this and view all your estimates as a Kanban board instead. If you prefer this view more, you can simply set this as your default by clicking on Set as Default View on the right as well. On the far right top side, there's a few different buttons which you might be familiar with from other modules as well. The first one is a Watch a How-To video, which is a number of different articles from our knowledge base outlining different questions and the corresponding answers on how to use the Estimates module effectively. I highly recommend checking out the articles and feel free to let us know your comments. You can actually do so by clicking on the next button, Suggest a new feature for this module. If you have any improvement ideas or tips that you want to give us or something that you'd like to see from this estimate module, feel free to drop us a note. We're always monitoring this inbox and we're always looking to improve and we're always updating Contractor Foreman based off the feedback we get from our customers. And lastly is the module settings button. If you'd like to add certain custom fields to your estimates or play around with the bid confirmation emails or online approvals, feel free to check out the settings over here in module settings. Now, let's go ahead and create an estimate together. We'll head over to plus estimate on the top right hand corner, and we can click on a project if needed, or we can go ahead and start filling out the title. Please note, any item that has an asterisk beside it has to be filled out for us to move forward. So for this estimate, I'm going to be working on an estimate for a new project, so I'm not going to select one of my existing projects, but I'll go ahead and call this Red Sea Home Renovation Project. And I'll choose one of my customers. My billing type is percentage. Estimate number will be automatically created, and my estimator is myself. Now let's go ahead and create an estimate. Once created, you'll be taken over to the Details tab within the estimate. Here, you can view some of the information that you filled out in the previous screen, such as the customer, the date of the estimate, which is today's date, the project manager, and the estimator. The estimator we chose in the previous screen, and the project manager will be the one who's taking over managing the project, and you can change it as needed. For this case, the project manager and the estimator is myself. We can also view the expiration date and change it if needed. So for example, once I send out this estimate, I can change it so that it expires within 1 month of its submittal. The project type, commercial, factory, home renovation, etc. And I'll go ahead and click on home renovation. The purpose of the project type is to help you filter out different types of estimates once you've completed them. For example, if you want to look at the estimates for all the home renovation projects you've done so far, you can simply filter by project type. And lastly is sector, where we have commercial and residential. Similar to the project type, it's simply to help you filter the different estimates you're creating for a later date. And client financing, if that's an option that you're providing them, you can put available or unavailable if needed. Now let's head over to the left-hand side under items. This is going to be your estimate and where you likely will be spending the majority of your time. Here, you can start importing the different items, whether they be materials, labor, equipment, subcontractor, or other, and start building out your estimate. Before you do, there is an easier way to import a few items if you've already completed an estimate before. If you go to the right-hand corner above the item, you can click on Add Item to Estimate and import from an existing estimator template. If you're doing multiple estimates of the same kind of project, for example, a home renovation, you likely will have similar line items reoccurring throughout these estimates, and rather than recreate them, you can simply import them from a previous estimator template that you built. You can add a new section. This is a great way if you want to break down into different areas such as preliminary, excavation, foundation, or a kitchen or master bedroom for your client and for ease of access. And lastly, import items from CSV File. This is if you'd like to upload a CSV file and import all the items for your estimate from that CSV. Before we get back into the items and start building out our estimate, let's talk about the workflow for this estimate. Right now, this estimate is part of the estimating phase right now. This means we can go ahead and make changes, additions, subtractions, and completely edit the estimate as needed because right now we're estimating the project. Once this is ready to submit to the client, we can go to the bottom left and click on Review and Submit. Once done, we can either move this manually, or if we email to Contractor Foreman, it'll move over to pending approval. From here, we can no longer make changes to the estimate because it's now with the client and the customer and it's waiting for their approval on this estimate. They might ask us questions or to make revisions, and at that point, we can go back to estimating and click on this button, revise and resubmit. But while it is pending our approval, we cannot make edits to the estimate. Once approved, it'll go ahead over to approved and we're ready to turn this into a project. Once you click on approved, and we'll be going down this road a little later in this estimate training video, we can go ahead and convert this estimate into a project. And obviously, once this estimate is fully completed and the project is closed, we can go ahead and click on completed. In order to add items into your estimate, there's a total of 5 different ways to import items. The first 2 ways we already quickly showed. Import from estimator template or import items from a CSV file. But if you head down and open up Add Item/Modify section, there's also 3 additional ways here. Import from cost item database, add manual estimate item, and import from one build materials cost database. In this video, we'll be going over all 5 different ways. To get started, let's go ahead with the first one of importing from cost item database. If you have questions about the cost item database, also known as CIDB, feel free to check out our training video and associated articles within the knowledge base for CIDB. In this example, I'll go ahead and click on the 1/2-inch MJ gate valve and box, which I need to do for my estimate, and hit save. As you can see, it automatically imported the item name, the cost code, the unit cost, the unit, and the markup from the CIDB. And all I need to do is change the quantity. The second way of adding an item into your estimate is by clicking on Add Manual Estimate Item. Once here, there's a few different things to fill out, and please note, any item that has an asterisk beside it means it has to be filled out to proceed forward. For this example, I'll click on Electrical Outlet Covers. Item type, I'll choose Material, and I'll assign to one of my employees to pick up. For cost code, I'll choose outlet cover box or outlet boxes. And now we can head into pricing. For the quantity, I'll choose about 25. They cost $3.99, and that's per cover. I'll also go ahead and apply a markup of 10%. Now, my total cost for the outlet covers will be $99.75. But the estimate line item will be for $109.72 visible to the customer. We can add a description to this, and this will be visible to the customer along with this line item. And I'll go ahead and type out black electrical cover outlet covers for main hallway and bedrooms. And I can also add an internal note, which is only visible to myself and my team. Now there's a few different things to check off before we save and finish this item. We can save this item into my materials items list, so next time it's saved to our material items list and we can simply import it rather than typing out all this information again. We can also make this item optional. When the customer receives the estimate, this line item will now be optional for them, and they can checkmark this off or choose to exclude it as part of the overall estimate. And lastly, do we want to collect tax on this item? I'll checkmark this as well and hit save and close. And now as we can see, a second line item has been added that we added in manually. The third option is importing from OneBuild Materials Cost Item database. In case you don't know, OneBuild is an online repository which is linked to Contractor Foreman, which is constantly updated and which shows the average cost that we find for your local area, which you can use as a guideline and for your estimates in order to import items. If you have more questions about OneBuild and how to integrate your Contractor Foreman into OneBuild, please feel free to check out our cost item database training video and the associated articles there. I'll go ahead and click on this import from OneBuild Materials Cost Item database. And as you can see, my default location is something I've set in the settings for Washington, DC. I'm choosing to proceed with CSI cost codes, and I'm going to look for 2x4 framing. And I'm going to choose this one, the 2x4 8-foot long premium S4S cedar framing lumber. Once I click on it, I can hit on import. And this line item has also been added to my estimate. It includes the cost code for wood framing, and it also includes the unit cost and the unit as well. I can go ahead and now update the quantity as needed. The fourth way of adding items into your estimate is by importing them from a previous estimate that you've completed or a template. In order to do so, head to the far right and click on Add Item to Estimate, and then click on Import from Estimator Template. Once here, you can go ahead and choose one of the existing estimates or templates that you have. For this example, I'm going to go down to one of my previous home renovation estimates that I did, and as you can see, there's two sections that pop up from that estimate. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and choose flooring. In addition to that, I can import the quantity values from the estimate, meaning the quantities from the two line items that are included in this section, including as well the scope of work, the inclusions, the terms, attachments, cover sheet, and exclusions. And I'll get into what these terms mean later into the video. For now, I'm going to go ahead, keep flooring, and go ahead to import. Once done, as you can see from the bottom, I now have my flooring section imported from the previous estimate in addition to the two different line items that were included in that. It includes the quantities from the previous estimate, and if I just want to change them so it's appropriate to this project, I can double click on it and update accordingly. This also highlights one of the other things that is included in estimates, and that's dividing your estimate into different sections. Right now, I imported the flooring section from my previous estimate. The line items we added together were added into the item section. If we want to change the name of the section, we can go to the right-hand corner and click on the View button. Once here, we can make the section name and change it, and add a description if needed. And we can also make the entire section optional to the customer if they'd like. I'll go ahead and click on Update, and we now have this section updated as well. If you'd like to add a new section, simply go to Add Item to Estimate and click on Add New Section. The fifth way of adding new items into Contractor Foreman is by importing them from a CSV file. One important thing to note is that when you want to import a CSV file, make sure you're using a Contractor Foreman estimate template first. The reason being is that if you use an incorrect template, you likely will run into issues when trying to import items into Contractor Foreman. To get the template, simply head over to the top right corner where the three dots are and click on Export Items to CSV. Once you open up the CSV file, you'll see that we have the 5 items that we added in together so far. One important thing to note is that when you import a CSV file, it doesn't replace the existing items you have, it just adds them on. So if I go ahead and import this CSV file as is, I'll simply be duplicating the items that I already have. So if I want to add 2 new items in here, I'm going to go ahead and delete these first and work on new items together. Let's do 2 for this example. The first one, we'll do a section in MEP. We'll create a new section. and call it MEP. Section description, I'll call mechanical, electrical, and plumbing work. For the item name for this one, I'll do temporary power. We'll call it temp power for heating and lighting under the description. Quantity of 1, a unit cost of 5,500, and just a lump sum value. For cost code, if you mistake a spelling on the cost code or you entering the wrong number, it'll instead generate a new cost code rather than find the most closest one. So the best practice is to leave this column empty for now and instead come back and enter the cost code later on, which is what I would suggest. For markup, we want to apply a 10% markup here. So we'll do 10, and for markup type, we'll do a percentage value. For item type, there's several different options available to us. We can do a number of things, including labor for internal labor, material, and call it MTL, equipment, and call it equip, subcontractor, and we call it sub, or we do other. For this example, I'm going to subcontract this work out, so I'm going to use sub. Is it taxable? No. Is it optional? No. And assigned to, we can leave as is for now. The next item I'm going to do is also within MEP, so we'll copy the section description. And for this example, I want to include site supervision work for the HVAC work that is going on. So site super time to review HVAC subcontractor. I think it's going to take him about 80 hours in total, and I'm going to charge out $90 an hour for him, and that'll be hours. For the cost code, I'm going to leave it blank again. And now for the markup, I want to apply a dollar value instead. In order to use the dollar value here, under the markup section, put out exactly how much you want to bill out to the client. So for this line item, I want to bill out $10,000. Meaning my internal cost will be his quantity times his unit cost, which is $7,200. But I'm going to be billing the client $10,000. And in order to ensure that it shows up as $10,000, I use the dollar value under markup type. For item type, this is an internal employee who's going to be using up his time, so it'll fall under labor. Is it taxable? No. Is it optional? No. And that's it. So I'll go ahead and hit save on this. Go back to Contractor Foreman, hit on Add Item to Estimate, and import items from CSV File. I'll browse for the CSV file I just worked on. And as you can see, it looks like everything imported correctly. We'll go ahead and click on Import, hit OK. And we now have that new section that we imported from the CSV file. Before we move on from the items tab in the estimate, one more thing I want to show is the feature here, show only $0 items. We know that some of our customers, when they're working on an estimate, they don't always have the correct information handy to import into their estimate, but they do want to make sure that they're adding that line item so they don't forget about it later on. So for example, if I don't have the dollar value amount for the electrical outlet covers, I'll change the unit cost to 0 for now. And I'll go ahead and price it out later on. Now, when I'm getting ready to send this estimate out, I can go ahead and click on Show Only $0 Items, and it'll highlight the fact that electrical outlet covers does not have an amount. Once I get the amount, I can simply update it back to, for example, $399, and it'll disappear from that list. So again, to recap, if you're building your estimate and you don't know the full contract dollar amount for a certain line item, you can simply input $0 for now and insert that line item so you don't forget about it later on. When you need to verify and double check that there's nothing outstanding for your estimate, you can highlight Show Only $0 Items and go over whichever line items have $0 and update them accordingly. There's a few more sections we can take a look at before this estimate is ready to send out. On the left-hand side, we can go ahead and click on Terms, and here we can add different terms and conditions we can include in the estimate. For example, under Inclusions, I can put in all demolition and garbage removal fees are included. And under exclusions, I can note down permit fees are not included and to be paid by customer. Terms, I can just put stuff, for example, net 30 on all invoices for this project. I can also go to scope of work and update the scope of work summary for this project. And then I can also, on the right-hand side, include a checklist of different items that I'll be doing for the scope of work. For example, I can put in new flooring, new HVAC, ducted system, and new electrical service. I'll go ahead and check mark the items that I want to show in the PDF as well. I can also click on files and add any backup that I want to send along with this estimate. So for example, for the electrical quote, if I want to add in the price of the electrical quote and show the customer what I'm being charged by the subcontractor, I can go ahead and add that in if needed. And lastly is the cover sheet. I can choose one of the default cover sheets that I have, and this is the page that's going to go before the estimate, and I can update it as needed. And any internal notes that you'd like to share or include within this estimate. Finally, when this estimate is ready to go, we'll go ahead and click on Review and Submit. Once your estimate is ready to send, the first step is to select the template. Contractor Foreman provides several different templates for you to play around with, including field sheets, internal, lump sum, and etc. Feel free to play around with the different templates to see what works best for you, or create a custom template if needed. For this example, I'll go ahead and choose Detailed with Description. We can also choose to toggle the cover sheet and see if we want to include it in our overall estimate. It'll be included one page ahead of the estimate. And lastly, we can also choose to add the different files that we added previously, and if we want to attach it with the PDF. Once ready, you can preview your estimate package that's going to be sent to the client. We have our cover sheet, the estimate detailed with descriptions, and a link to the file that we attached all the way at the bottom over here. Once this is ready to send out, you can download a PDF of it and send it via email, or you can email it to the client directly here. Or, and probably the best way, is to click on Submit to Client over here. And this is the best way because you can go ahead and Contractor Foreman will keep track of where the estimate is for you. I'll go ahead and click on Resubmit because I already submitted this to a client previously and hit Yes. As long as there's an email attached to the client within Contractor Foreman, it'll send that client an email for them to see, and I'll open it up here. As you can see, I received an email from Contractor Foreman with an estimate and a link to the estimate as well. I have a PDF of the estimate that I can view, and if I'd like to review the estimate, I can go ahead and review it online. And this is what the client will see. We have the cover sheet that we added. We have our estimate with all the different line items, the scope of work summary, and detailed with description as we selected, separated into sections, the inclusions, exclusions, scope of work, and a final PDF of the additional document that we added. Once we're ready to approve this, we'll go ahead and click to approve, sign our name. I'm not the best at signatures. Hit approve, and there we go. Now if I go back to Contractor Foreman and I hit refresh, my estimate is now approved and I'm ready to get started on this project. If you need help or have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us by the live chat or send us an email at support@contractorforeman.com. And if you'd like to have any more in-depth training, make sure to book a session on our training page. Thanks for watching and see you in another video.